We're cooking it up in here. Look at that. It is wonderful. Oh, they're so pretty. Ooh, what's scrumptious. Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the Very Vera Show. You know, it is football season and I am all in as a University of Georgia fan. You know, our biggest dream was if the Georgia Bulldogs ever went to the Rose Bowl, we were going, and we did that a couple of years ago. One of my fondest memories. So today I'm going to give you some recipes for tailgating. I think everybody's ready to get in the car and do those tailgating parties again. So the first two recipes are out of my next cookbook. We're going to start with the Swedish meatball. This was my mother-in-law's recipe, really scrumptious. Then we're going to do a hot ham bite. You know, this is a really old-fashioned recipe that's making a comeback, and I'm going to show you how to keep it hot during the entire tailgate. Then finally, what about a Georgia brandied peach pound cake for dessert, made with some Titan Farm peaches? In Vera's Corner today, I'm going to show you some tailgating tips. So let's go inside the cottage and get started on those Swedish meatballs. I'm so excited that tailgating is back and we can enjoy some of my favorite recipes, and I know yours too, not to mention the friends that you're going to see that you haven't seen in quite a while. So these recipes today are going to be part of my next cookbook, Occasions. And the one we're making right now for the Swedish meatballs belonged to my mother-in-law, Sue Stewart. She was quite a caterer. I learned so much from her to bring that into my own catering business. And this recipe was something that she would do if we were just all getting together, but she certainly used it quite a bit in catering. It's a simple recipe, so let me kind of give you a little bit about what we did ahead of time. So I took my ground beef, and I love to use 80-20 on the ground beef, and then just your favorite sausage, bulk sausage, and you just mix that together really well. And then her thing was she liked to make them the size of golf balls. And did I mention that she was quite a golfer too? I will never forget when she broke 100. So that is part of this recipe to me, is the fact that she made them the size of golf balls. But you can use a cookie scoop to do that, or she was so good at it, she would just pinch the meat and make the little balls herself. So I've got these all ready to go, and I have got my oven ready. And you know, one of my features of my M-Series oven is you can do bake or convection bake. So I have got the oven set on convection bake. This recipe says to bake them at 400 degrees, but when I use convection, I'm going to take that temperature down by 25 degrees. So it's on 375, and I'll use the bottom rack and the middle rack. And these are going to cook for about 20 minutes. All right, so while those are cooking, we're going to make the yummy sauce that goes with it. And this is where you can get creative. You know, one of the things that I said that makes this popular for our family is even the little kids will eat this because there's not a bunch of onions, there's not bell pepper, you know, it's just things that they like. So this is your favorite barbecue sauce, whatever it is. You can make your homemade, it can be bottled. And I've got that heated through. And then Campbell's tomato soup. So, you know, some of these old recipes, you know, they all use soup in some form or fashion. But this is just a kind of tangy, tart, sweet. You know, there's other things that you could add to it if you wanted to. Like I said, you could put some chopped onions or olives or whatever you might want to put into this. But this just mixes up. And once these meatballs are done, this is where your crock pot comes in handy. You'll put the finished meatballs in the crock pot and just pour this tomato sauce all over it and let that cook. So, you know, the original recipe said to actually deep fry these meatballs. And so using the oven for this purpose is one of the things that I really like. The fact that the grease is going to come completely off of it. They're going to be very meaty, really good. You can also drain them on the wire racks when you take them off. If you want to, if your bulk sausage was a little fatty, you can do that. But it really makes it not much mess at all and can be done ahead and frozen. All right, so we are going to let these cook Get them in the crock pot during the break and get that sauce over it. And I'm also going to talk in the presentation today about how to make this work when you're on the tailgate. So come back with me after the break. We're going to get started on the ham bites, which is another old school recipe that's kind of making a comeback right now. So I'll see you back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and if you're just joining me, we're doing tailgate recipes today. Football season's in full swing, and these are some things that hopefully you'll take with you when you go to the game, but you could also use them for entertaining in the fall when it's so nice outside, or if you're having friends over to watch the game on TV at home. All right, so this is an old school recipe. Raise your hand if you've had hot ham bites. I mean, honestly, I could eat this entire thing of these. They're just the best. You know, you remember the old Crystal hamburger that the bottom bun would be kind of soggy? That was my favorite part of that hamburger. And this is kind of what this recipe does, which I love. So there's all kinds of things that go in this wonderful smear that goes on top. This recipe is going to be in the next book. So I'm sure some of you have it, but for those of you that don't, you're going to love it. So I've got softened butter. I'm going to add to that finely chopped onions, Worcestershire sauce, poppy seeds. You know, there's a story about these poppy seeds because we had a pound cake that had poppy seeds in it, and we had to discontinue it off of our menu because people would fail the drug test because they were eating poppy seeds in my pound cake. So just keep that in mind. All right, then we've got dry mustard. And this is just going to make a nice smear that's going to go on top of the Hawaiian rolls. And you know, there's nobody that doesn't love a good, moist, warm Hawaiian roll. All right, the other thing that goes in this recipe is the ham. And so you can get, you know, really crazy with that, or you can just pick up, you know, just something in the deli with this, but you want it to be shaved ham so that it's easy to bite into with these rolls. So I prepared my pan, my square pan with the cooking spray, and now I'm just going to spread this on top. You know, and you want your butter to be at room temperature, so if you don't think it's quite spreadable enough, you can zap it for just a second before you put it on there. But you know, even the fact that this has onions in it, you know, my grandchildren love this recipe. So you can make it ahead and freeze it. All right. So let me speak to what I did to get the bread to this point. So I took a long serrated knife when I took it out of the container, and then you just cut clear across so that you've got the top that's going to go on at the end. And this looks like a lot of butter and a lot of everything else, but that bread, just like I said, it just soaks it up, and it is so delicious. All right, so once you've got that spread on there really well, then we'll start adding the ham. And if you've got the shaved ham, literally you can just, you know, place it. And you know, I love to always shout out recipes that you can do with your children. And you know, the kids at camp love this, but it's a really great recipe that, you know, if you've got a grandchild or a child that's really getting interested in cooking, don't always make sweets, don't always make cupcakes and cookies. Introduce them to other things that they can do. And you know, if you're having friends over and they can pass these and say, I made them myself, you know, that would really be special. All right, now I'm gonna add in my Swiss cheese, but I'm actually thinking about switching it up, putting a Vera twist on it for the cookbook and using Jarlsberg cheese instead, because I just love the flavor of that cheese, and I think it kind of puts more of a today twist on it. All right, and then your sharp cheddar, and then we'll just put the lid on it. All right, so I'm going to get this in the oven. I mean, the aromas in here are fantastic. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on that Georgia Brandy Peach pound cake. Scrumptious. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Vera's Corner is sponsored by TaxSlayer. It's your refund. Go get it. You know, when it's time to tailgate, there's some food that's hot and some food that's cold, and you got to transport it there and keep it safe. In Vera's Corner today, I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that successfully. When packing for your tailgate, use this checklist: clean, separate, cook, and chill. Clean. Make sure you bring soap, water if there's none available, wet disposable cloths, gloves, and hand sanitizer. Having these items on hand will ensure that you're able to do any food prep necessary while keeping your tailgate bacteria-free. Separate. If you're grilling out, be sure to pack separate plates for raw meat and cooked meat. Before you leave the house, wrap your raw meat very tightly so the juices don't touch your ready-to-eat food. Store raw meat in the bottom of your cooler. Cook. Along with your grill and fuel, your packing list should have a cooking thermometer and a minimum cooking temperature sheet. That means you too, grill master. Chill. Have plenty of coolers, ice packs, and ice on hand to store your raw ingredients and foods that need to be kept cold, like pimento cheese or potato salad. Also grab some clean containers for leftovers. Keep these tips in mind and have a great game day. Welcome back, everybody, and I know you're as excited as I am about tailgating and football in general, and honestly, if the Georgia Bulldogs aren't playing, I might watch Clemson, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, in Vera's Corner today, I hope you enjoyed those tailgating tips, and I'm actually going to be using one of those tips today because part of what we're going to do at the end, I've added in a few things that we've done recently on the show. I'm going to put those ice packs in with my pasta salad. So great tip for when you're traveling with things that need to stay cold. All right, so we got those hot ham bites out of the oven. Cheese was melted. They're nice and gooey. They're going to be scrumptious. I brushed the top of them with melted butter, and then I put them in aluminum foil and wrapped them really tight, sat them down in a small cooler, and that becomes my oven. That's my warming drawer when we're traveling for a tailgate. So you can just pull them out a few at a time. They'll stay warm. Everybody will absolutely love those. So you'll see that in presentation when we come back from the break. All right, so the pound cake. This is the Georgia Brandy Peach. And for those of you that have followed along with me over these last 10 years with the cookbook and all that we've done with it, I had a pound cake named for every one of my brothers and sisters and one from my mother. And then I started thinking I should name one for the state of Georgia. And what better than for the peach state to have a peach pound cake. So this is a scrumptious recipe and something that you can make. You know, baking to me is almost therapeutic. I love to get in the kitchen. I love to pull those ingredients out, get them at room temperature, and just know that in a few minutes I'm going to get to go back in time and make that cake that really reminds me of my grandmother. All right, so we had a lot that we had to do to get ready for that. So you start by having your ingredients at room temperature. That butter, the milk, the eggs, everything that's cold has got to be at room temperature. So get that done in advance when you're going to be making one of my pound cakes. And then we creamed the butter and the sugar for 20 minutes. And you're going to think that's a typo, but honestly, that is exactly how long you do it. One of the pluses to the cookbook as a former home economics teacher is that I not only tell you what it's going to look like, but I tell you how long it takes to do it. So now I'm going to whisk the heavy cream, peach schnapps, and peach flavoring together. And peach flavoring you're not going to be able to find at the grocery store, so you want to pick that up on Amazon.com. Then in another bowl, you're going to whisk the cake flour and the salt together. And then when the butter and sugar are completely finished creaming, scrape down the sides and the bottom, and then add your eggs one at a time. Once those are incorporated, you'll scrape the side of the bowl again and then beat that on low for 5 minutes. And this is another one of those time tips that's important. But while that's going on, that's where we're going to add the twist. We're going to peel the Titan Farm peaches, and we're going to cut those up about 2 cups worth and fold that into the batter. And then alternating the flour and the cream mixture, beginning with flour and ending with cream. Scrape again, and then I've prepared my bundt pan with my Baker's Joy. Tap it on the counter first, then it's going to go into a 325-degree oven for 1 hour and 20 minutes. So while that's going on, I'm going to get the glaze ready that goes on the top. Several of our pound cakes had a wonderful glaze. So I've got my butter in my saucepan, that's melted. I'm going to add in sugar, water, and again the peach schnapps. And this is just a really nice glaze that once you've taken that cake out of the oven, that is going to go on the top. So let me tell you what to do. Once the cake comes out of the oven, you're going to sit it on the wire rack until it's good and cool, about 15 minutes. Then you're going to flip it out and then put a piece of parchment paper under the cake so that you'll have a wire rack to pour this beautiful glaze on the top. You want it to dry completely before you try to wrap it up, and then that's going to either go in the refrigerator or in your freezer where it'll last for 6 months. So come back with us for the presentation. We're going to be tailgating. We're going to have a great time, so I don't want you to miss it. Please come back. Welcome back, everybody, and I'm joining you right now from the stadium at the Academy of Richmond County, right here in Augusta, Georgia, and it is the oldest chartered high school in America. This place is historic, and if the walls could talk, my husband went here, all 3 of our sons graduated from Richmond Academy, and I have a grandson that's a sophomore here right now, so we've had a lot of really memorable times here at the stadium, and on any given Friday night, this place is packed with parents, with fans. The marching band is unbelievable, so just a lot of really great times. So we're tailgating at Richmond Academy today and just have quite a spread with everything that we made, and then I've added in a few things that I wanted to recommend for tailgating. So of course we started today with the Swedish meatballs, and in a crock pot these things are fantastic, and in my car I have an adapter so I can plug my crock pot in right here and keep these hot. Just some toothpicks there and a spoon if somebody really wants to load up, that's the appropriate thing. All right, the hot ham bites, I pulled them right out of that Igloo cooler. They're still nice and warm. You could actually cut these in half if you wanted to, but while you're making them, make a lot, because I tell you, people are going to love that sandwich, and it's something that you can make ahead as opposed to having to make some sandwiches at the last minute. And then finally, the Georgia branded peach pound cake. I have it in my handy plastic container that I carry, and you know, the longer it sits in this, the moisture it gets. But it's truly nice and moist today with those Titan Farm peaches that we added in for a little color, extra burst of flavor, and just really added another twist to the recipe. So we've got quite a spread today, and you know, I love Amazon to find, you know, some cute things like the tablecloth, some of the decor. There's some of the things that I put in the arrangement today. You know, the hydrangea this time of year in the South bloom all the way through the end of November. So this is a great thing to use. It almost looks like pom-poms. But pimento cheese sandwiches, that's a recipe that's in our first cookbook, the Very Vera cookbook, and these work really well. Always dampen your paper towel with a little bit of water when you make these, so then when you unwrap it, they're still nice and moist. So those are great. We recently, last week, did this lemon basil pasta salad on the show. It went over so well, we've decided to make that again and add that to our tailgate today. And then the quick pickles are something we did several years ago on the show. It's a one-day pickle. The recipe is delicious, and actually we want you to go to our Instagram at Very Vera Stewart, and this is on a reel right now that we've got there. So try that recipe while cucumbers are still in season. Those are perfect. So, you know, add a little bit of elevation decoration for things like your sandwiches. Bring in the extra props. And speaking of props, needless to say, this Igloo cooler is coming in handy for all of our drinks, waters, sodas. Fill it up with ice. And Augusta Ace Hardware actually gave that to us to use, so we're planning to put that to really good use this fall with so many things that we've got going on. We'll be traveling to many of our markets this fall, so hopefully you'll follow us on Instagram to see where we're going to be next, which town we're going to be in, and the paper goods and other decor that we got from Amazon. All of your favorite teams are there. So you know, my entire team that's with me today represent anywhere from Clemson University to the University of Oklahoma. We've even got Florida on the map here today. So just remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. Be nice to your friends that are on different teams, because you never know. When I went to the Rose Bowl, I had to sit in the Oklahoma section, and those folks were so nice. So I hope you'll come back and join me again next week. In the meantime, enjoy football, enjoy family and friends, and let's keep the good weather going.